Modern day commercial air travel is both a blessing and a curse. It allows us to get all over the country to see friends and family, attend firearm courses, or just travel in general within a matter of hours. But with the accessibility to the average American, it does present a few security risks. So for that reason, the TSA has come up with a few policies and procedures to enforce firearm safety while traveling. And with that, some airlines have very inconsistent and incompetent training methods to train their employees. So it is up to us as the prepared citizen to be the asset, know what we're supposed to do our homework ahead of time, and make sure we're traveling with our firearms correctly so that they don't end up lost or end up in the wrong hands. If you want to hear more about my experiences recently with an airline that has the same acronym as Alcoholics Anonymous, please head over to my X account and follow me there. I talked all about it there, lessons learned, how it went, and some of the more frustrating parts of it. Today, we're going to be talking about how to travel with your firearm correctly, some things that I recommend that you should do, and some gear and equipment that I recommend you pick up based on my personal experiences so that you don't have any trouble when you're traveling with your firearms. Let's get into it. Before we get into that, I want to take a second to talk about how you can best support the channel. Number one, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. That is by far and large the best way to support me and what I'm doing. Show YouTube that you hate their algorithm, you hate what they're doing censoring 2A communities. Comment down below as your sacrifice to the algorithm. Secondly, head over to defensivesolutions.com. If you liked anything that you see, I usually post affiliate links on there. I also have merch. If you are interested in supporting me in that way, pick some up while you're over there. For a couple of years now, when I was in the military, I would travel back and forth for leave and occasionally bring my firearms, and now I often do it for pleasure and also going to certain firearm courses all over the country. I've had a few incidents recently that have sparked this video idea for me because frankly, there was gross incompetence at the airport that I was traveling through. So it really inspired me to make this video and put that information out to you guys so that hopefully you can prevent things like that happening to you in the future. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go over what I previously was using, the bag, the setup, all of the Pelican cases, and just show you why I ran into some issues and how I've decided to change it up and use some different equipment to make my firearms more secure and less likely to get lost, damaged, or anything of the sort. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about how you need to prepare your firearm for travel. What does it need to be in? What status? How should your ammo be stored? What locks should you use? That sort of thing. So the first step, no matter which airline you're traveling to, which airport you're going through, is going to be following the TSA procedures. And they do make a video, it's about a minute long on their YouTube channel, so I highly recommend you check that out. And just make sure that you're following all of the things that they recommend so that you don't get in any trouble, because if you mess this up, it is going to be big fines, about $15,000. You are going to be arrested, and you're probably going to be placed on a list that removes your ability to own firearms. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But first step, no matter what travel case you're using, no matter what airline, and no matter what airport, you definitely need to follow the TSA procedures and policies for properly preparing your firearm to be traveled with. So for cases, you're going to want to pick something that is hard-sided. That is a requirement, and that's also in the TSA video. So right now I'm using a Pelican 1170 and it fits a Glock 47 perfectly. You can also use, this one is the 1075. And it has this shoulder strap for it, so if you're carrying it by itself, it's really easy to just pick up and go. It also fits inside of a backpack or another checked luggage bag if you're going to slip these inside of there instead of just sending them on their own, which I would recommend. Either way, whichever case you go with, whether it's Pelican, Plano, Bass Pro brand, it's got to be hard-sided and it has to be able to be locked. So I'm going to use my Glock 47 as an example. First thing, just like with anything, is to clear your firearm, make sure there's nothing in there. I like to also clear out the magazine and make sure I don't have any ammo stored in that. I don't think that is a required step, but it's something that I like to do just to make sure that everything is very obviously clear. So Here we have a cleared firearm. Next thing I'm going to do is take a barrel flag. It doesn't really matter what kind. You can either use something plastic like this, or you have a ridgeline tag that sticks out pretty obviously. So I'm going to close that in the chamber. Very obviously cleared to even somebody who doesn't understand firearms all that well. They can see that, all right, yep, that's good to go. I have also used zip ties in the past. This is just a yellow high-vis one. Slide it down the barrel. Similar thing, shows that there's nothing in the chamber. So once you have your barrel flag in there, I'm gonna store the gun inside my Pelican case with the chamber flag facing up so that it's very obvious to see. I'm also gonna place the magazine not in the firearm. That is a key step. That way, anybody who just looks inside of here is gonna see, all right, that thing is clear and safe. It is good to go. There's no ammo in here in the magazine or in the chamber. If you're gonna bring ammo, I would recommend using your original box or having some sort of dedicated plastic container. Sometimes you can get those at Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, that kind of thing. Just make sure it's not loose ammo. And again, I wouldn't recommend storing ammo in the magazine. I don't think that's not allowed per se, but just something I wouldn't recommend doing. So I'm gonna place the box of ammo also in there. That is okay to do. That way everything is just locked up nice and secure. The other recommendation that I would make is adding an air tag. So what this does is allows you to track this location. As long as it's near an iPhone, the iPhone is gonna ping this location, broadcast it out to the network. That way on your phone using Find My app, you can see where your stuff is. Really good backup plan. This actually saved my butt on my last travel incident because I was able to see exactly where my bag was when the airline lost it. So that's fantastic. So again, I'm gonna take this air tag, gonna hide it in here. You can either cut the foam to make a little slot. I like to just put it back behind there. Pretty easy to get, but also discreet. So again, you see everything in here stored securely, properly. I took out a little bit of foam just to create some more space so I can have more things in here, but you can set it up however you like. So I wanna make sure it closes. Everything's good to go, nice and secure. Now, with locks, I would highly recommend you do a little bit of lock research and get some more secure locks than the one I have here. I have a lot of master brand and some TSA compliant locks, which we'll get to in a second. The reason why I wouldn't recommend these is because they're not the most secure. They're actually pretty renowned for being very easy to pick. I'm gonna use these as an example. I don't recommend you use these locks on yours. The reason why I have these smaller ones with a thinner shackle is because on this 1170, the full-size lock actually does not fit very well. It does fit, but it's just a little bit more difficult to get on and off. I would recommend you get enough locks to go through all of the padlock holes provided for your Pelican case. So for mine, I have 2, some of them have 4, some of them have even more than that. I would not, you should not use TSA locks to lock up firearms. Reason being is they have this keyhole on the bottom here that is a widely and commonly used key among TSA agents. Pretty sure there's only about 2 or 3 models of them. So they all have access to open these kind of locks. And also the shackle is paper thin, could easily be cut. They're just generally not very good. This is something that you would use to lock up your suitcase with, a little bit more expensive things in it, like camera or jewelry or something. This is something you would use for that. I always use non-TSA locks so that I know nobody in the airport has my combination or has access to opening the lock without doing something illegal, like shimming into it or breaking into it in some way, shape, or form. So don't use those for firearms. Use something that's a little more uncommonly accessible. And I also recommend not using master locks because they're not the most secure. For me, it's what I had, and they're just a little bit easier. I will be upgrading these to something that I've seen on Lockpick Lawyer or McNally Official on YouTube. So if you guys have any good lock recommendations, let me know in the comments below. All right, so the last little piece of traveling with your firearm is making sure that you check in and declare it properly. So you're gonna wanna head up to the check-in desk and go up to any of the clerks, preferably a manager or a supervisor if you can find one right away. And you're just gonna tell them, hey, I'd like to declare a firearm.
He's got a gun!
Lloyd.
Huh?
You're gonna pull something like this out of your bag, or you're gonna just wheel this up to their giant scale that they have. And just be prepared to undo all the locks and make sure that your gun is ready to display that it is unloaded. So for this, you're just gonna crack it open and show them, hey, you see there's a barrel flag in there. This firearm is indeed unloaded. No need to take it out, scare anybody, because sometimes these guys are afraid of firearms, afraid of things they don't understand. So I wouldn't recommend taking it out, but just show them very obviously that it is in fact unloaded. Once you do that, you're going to sign a form, little slip about yay big, and it says, I am declaring my firearm is unloaded. You're gonna have your name, your flight number, and your contact information on it. And then they're gonna usually slip it inside of your case. Sometimes I've had them tape it to the outside. It depends on their policies per airline. So usually they slap it right on the top of your firearm so that when the TSA agent is sending it through their scanner, they can actually take a look at it. The last thing I would recommend you do is never give them an unlocked case. So sometimes they'll be like, oh, hey, just unlock it for us. We'll take it to the back and we'll lock it back up for you. Don't do that. Not good. Always ensure that you're giving them a locked case and that you're present whenever the case is open. I've seen some stories, I've heard some stories online of TSA agents or check-in clerks trying to do weird things like that. Don't let them do it. That's not the policy. That's not how it should go. You're always going to want to be there when it's open, show that the firearm is unloaded, and then ensure that it's locked back up with your non-TSA compliant locks. If TSA needs you for whatever reason, when your case goes through the scanner, they're gonna call you. They got your name, they got your number, they know where you live, and they know what flight you're gonna be on. So if they really need you, they'll come find you and they'll ask you whatever questions they need to ask. As long as you're following all the rules, following all the laws, there should be no reason why anybody should be taking your unlocked case with your gun in it. So that's just one little piece I wanted to add in there. And once you've signed that slip goes in the case gets locked back up. Make sure your combos are set back to 0, and then it's off. And hopefully the next time you see it is at your destination. So I'm gonna talk about what I used in my most recent traveling incident and the reason why I'm switching to something like this Pelican 1535 Pelican Air case. So this is a Buffalo Jackson Trading Company bag, and I actually really like this bag. It is super comfortable to carry. It's made of really tough canvas-like material with some leather accents. It just looks really nice, very functional, and I've enjoyed using it so far. So nothing wrong with the bag itself. It just doesn't quite fit my needs currently. Reasons why things like this might be better for you. They're a lot lighter than the Pelican cases. They're a lot easier to carry, more comfortable using the shoulder straps that they come with. They also have a flexible volume, so whatever you fill them with, they're going to bend and conform to their contents. And they're just generally cheaper than any of these hard case options you're gonna encounter. So I have really liked using this. However, it is not the end goal and it's not the best way to travel with my guns. Some of the bad things about it. Number one, it is soft-sided, so it can be cut open very easily, whether that's on purpose or by accident. It's also not waterproof, so even during the incident I most recently had, there was a huge thunderstorm that came by and this thing got soaking wet. Luckily, my guns and all my expensive gear was inside of a Pelican case, inside the bag, so I didn't run into any major issues, but I was a little upset that everything just got soaking wet. Lastly, it's also not very secure from the outside. So the way I fastened this closed, once I had my firearm stored properly in the Pelican case, I then took a combo master lock and I locked this zipper to the shoulder strap buckle here. And while it was effective at deterring any bad actors from accessing the contents of my bag, it's not gonna adequately protect my stuff. You could easily have cut this leather here. You could easily just cut the bag open. It's just not gonna do it for me in the future, and I'm glad nothing bad happened to my stuff while I was traveling with it, but it is something I will be moving on from. Another negative aspect of it is that it's extremely messy on the inside, very unorganized. There are a few pockets in there to help me place little tiny bits and bops everywhere, but as a whole, I wasn't very organized and all of my things were just shoved in there. So I did like how it would flex to the contents, but anytime I needed something in particular, I would have to go fishing for it, taking things out, put them on the ground, It was just overall a complete mess and not very organized. So that was another problem I wanted to solve. And lastly, when I loaded it all up with all the things I had, it was about 45, 50 pounds. So it was very unwieldy, very heavy, and very bulky to carry around, even with a tough leather shoulder strap. Something that I would have liked to have in that incident was wheels so that I didn't have to carry it on my shoulder along with all of my other luggage that I was bringing. So contrastingly, the Pelican 1535 Pelican Air case does also have pros and cons to it. Some of the bad things are that it's heavier right out the gate, just completely empty. It's already going to be heavier than this carry bag right here. It's also pretty expensive. These come in about $200, $250, depending on which model you go with and what add-ons you add to it. But the great thing about it is that it's very rigid, very durable, way more secure with the padlock holes provided here, and completely waterproof. So all of the issues that I ran into with this carry-on bag from Buffalo Jackson have been fixed with this Pelican Air 1535. It also has wheels, really durable and strong carrying handles. So if I do need to pick it up off the wheels or carry it up a set of stairs, it's really not going to be that big of a deal. It has a fixed volume. So if I filled it to the brim, I'm not going to really be able to squeeze much more in it because it will have trouble closing. If I wanted to Mary Poppins this bag, I could just keep shoving things in there and it'll generally try to flex to the things I put inside of it. But this is fixed and hard-sided, so it's not going to be able to carry as much stuff. And actually I can carry more things in this than I am able to carry inside of this. The biggest appeals to me are the security, the waterproof, and just the fact that it's hard-sided. If you wanted to get into this, you're going to have a pretty hard time, provided that I use actually good padlocks and not master lock. So these are just some options that you have for checked luggage if you're going to be placing this inside of one of these. The other benefit to using something like the Pelican case is you actually won't need an additional Pelican case for your firearm, a dedicated Pelican case for your firearm. You can just throw it in here, and as long as this is locked properly and you've demonstrated that your firearm is unloaded, then it's good to go just free floating in here. All right, so I'm just gonna show you guys what I have in my Buffalo Jackson Trading Company bag, and this is how I was previously running it whenever I traveled. So again, I was using a master padlock, which was fixed to the zipper and the shoulder strap little buckle here. Again, not the best because I could just easily cut that piece of leather and the bag would be open, or I could just cut the canvas and again, the bag would be open. But nonetheless, this is how I was running it. I would obviously detach the shoulder strap, as is common practice for checked luggage. That way it doesn't get snagged or anything, and I would take this with me. So that being said, we're gonna open it up here and I'm gonna show you just why I moved away from this. So as you can see, it is an absolute mess in here. Even though I was able to fit everything I needed, whether I was going to a course or just going to the range, this did actually work for me, but it's extremely messy. Everything is just kind of piled in there. And if I ever needed anything from the bottom, I'd have to take all this stuff out first and then finally get to what I needed if it was packed deep down in there. The other negative thing about it is things like my hearing protection or my shot timer would often get bumped. So this would run out of battery because it would turn on inadvertently, or the shot timer would just beep, while it's in the bag, and then it would have errors timing my next shots, or it would just straight up die from its battery being used all the time. So lots of cons to this thing. It does have pockets. It actually can fit my entire range belt, which is pretty cool. But it does have pockets, as you might be able to see in there. And in these pockets, I can store any of the tools that I need, just any of the little bits and bops, so that they're not just loosely bouncing around the bag. So even though it's not the best, it did actually function for what I needed it to, and it worked at the time. But after that recent traveling incident, I decided to move away from it for the cons that we've already discussed. But as you can see in here, I can keep my entire Pelican case with my gun locked up in it, and it was functional. So now I'm gonna go over how the Pelican case provides pros that are way better than their cons, and definitely gonna move away from this. So before we get this all packed in with all of these stuff and show you how I have it loaded out now, I want to show you some of the cool features that it has and some of the things that I've done to it to customize it to fit my needs. So when I purchased it, it came with this additional hard plastic MOLLE webbing, so you can fasten things like your Otis cleaning kit directly to it, and you can attach different pouches, whatever you may need. What I decided to do was use the studs that came with it to hold it on there, and they actually just snap in, which is really nice. So now it's nice and secure, do it all four corners. But what I really like about it is I took these studs that it came with, I screwed them into the top, but I purchased a additional Velcro 1535 case top that has 2 strips of Velcro, and I actually used the studs that came with the plastic MOLLE webbing to hold that on there. So now I can use these pouches from Color Case to just slap onto here whenever I'm not using the plastic MOLLE webbing. And the studs are a little bit, they do protrude a little bit, but it's not to the point where you can't still attach your Velcro pouches. So this is kind of how I have it set up. I can fill it with things like extra magazines, cleaning equipment, all the tools that I have can go in there, and then the top is now extremely organized. So I don't have a bunch of loose pieces floating around like I did in the Buffalo Jackson Trading Company bag. So now when I'm not using this MOLLE plastic webbing on the lid, I can actually just use it as a shelf to kind of separate some things from the bottom here. So what I like to do is keep a few boxes of ammo in case I forget them or I don't have room to put them in another container. I can just keep a box in here. They fit nice and snug on the bottom, and then I put whatever else in here. So I have a speed loader, a few cleaning supplies, and I'll keep my locks in there, and I'll take the plastic MOLLE webbing, place it over that, and it sits on top very nicely. So now I have separated space in there to put some more things, smaller things I don't want flying around, and now I can pile everything on top right here. So because some of you are going to ask, I'm going to very quickly go over how I have my Pelican case set up. So on the lid here, I have these Color Case pouches. In the top left, we have extra ear and eye pro, some defogger in here, and a couple extra sets of glasses. In the middle here, I just keep all my Glock 17 round magazines up here, a couple 19 round magazines in the back, and that's just an easy place to keep them. Top right, we got all the cleaning stuff. So I have some CLP wipes, I have a set of gloves for cleaning my gun, and then I have some Remington Rem Oil. Down on the bottom left here, I have some pasties for targets, a little bit of chalk, and some staples for my staple gun. And then lastly, in this pouch, I have all the tools, Sharpie, Leatherman, some Allen wrenches, Torx bits, anything I could need to make changes to my equipment or operate on my firearm for whatever reason in case something breaks. And again, these come off super easily. Just Velcro onto that Velcro panel in the back there. And if I wanted to, I could take them all off and slap on that MOLLE panel. All right, so in the bottom section, I have my hearing protection, laser rangefinder for ranging targets, set of binos, an extra holster that is passive retention in case I want to do some speed work, bag that came with the EOTech OGL, and just keep all my loose Allen wrenches in here, carbon fiber DeWalt staple gun, pretty sick, highly recommend, gloves, ears, and eyes that I commonly use with a carabiner so I can just slap it onto my belt. Got the Wheeler set of punches. Again, my Otis cleaning stuff in there. And then in this S3 cases, I just have a bunch of commonly used tools that I need, whether it's bits, leveling, tape, little wrench there, some Loctite, just all the loose little pieces that I might need in order to conduct maintenance or fix something on the fly. So this is a nice way of just keeping everything all together. This is made by S3 Cases. Then obviously I have my Glock 47. So this has got the chamber flag in it. And like I mentioned before, it is fine to just leave this loose and with the chamber flag in it, as long as you're going to have padlocks on both of the holes on the Pelican case. Next, I got the Safariland Level 2 holster with tourniquet on the front. Nice little compact package, and then my pack timer. So again, this whole MOLLE panel lifts up and comes out of the way, and underneath I have some microfiber towels for cleaning. all my locks and extra chamber flags, magazine speed loader, some foam, and then the boxes of ammo as I mentioned before. So that's just a quick little rundown on what I carry in the Pelican case. The only thing that can't fit is my range belt. So that is a little bit of a disappointment, but honestly, I didn't expect this to fit because I have some things that are pretty big on here. So this can just go in my carry-on luggage or my check luggage as long as I remember to remove my Leatherman. But there's nothing in here that can't come with me, so I'm not too worried about that. At my recent travel incident, I was actually assigned the wrong boarding pass, which meant that my entire Buffalo Jackson bag with all my gun stuff in it was assigned to somebody else. And luckily we caught it in time before I went through security and before my bag was off into the ether, but still, inexcusable incompetence, and I'm very glad that that didn't actually happen. However, on the way home, that airline actually did leave my bag in a different city, not my destination city, but it did soon after arrive at my final destination, about 4 hours after I got there. Still, regardless, the fact that they lost my bags just about twice within a weekend is absolutely inexcusable, so needless to say, I will not be flying with them ever again. But I just wanted to pass the information on to you guys and make sure that you have the right equipment so that it makes the check-in clerk, the TSA agent's life super easy. There's no questions asked, you're doing all the right things, and that it decreases your chances of something bad happening to you on your trips. So with that said, guys, make sure you're getting out there and training. Don't let not knowing how to travel with your guns be the reason why you don't go to these amazing courses all over the country, and just get out there, shoot a lot. Thanks for watching.